Well, I'm sure many of you remember the video that I did concerning that poor PowerMac G3 blue and white that was destroyed in shipping. The seller, of course, was very kind about it and refunded my money. So I popped on eBay, did a little shopping, and lo and behold, another blue and white. So what we're going to do is take a look at this machine, inside and out. It seems to be intact, thank heaven, not broken electronics this time. And once we've done that, we will try to boot it up and see where we go from there. So, hang with me, and I hope you enjoy it. Well, I had quite forgotten that I had intended to show you something, the couple of things that came with this new blue and white. This is the Apple USB keyboard. I believe it also came with the early iMacs, with the blue background there. Seems to be in a little bit better shape than the Apple Pro keyboard that came with the MDD. But it's the correct, period, authentic keyboard for this computer. Now, this thing. This is a prime example of things that become iconic and collectible in part because they were really bad. And that certainly describes this. This is the infamous Apple puck mouse. Looked at from this side, it does seem to be kind of a hockey puck shape. Maybe slightly smaller than a hockey puck, and it's rounded here instead of that flat square that a hockey puck would have. And other than that, it's a typical one-button mouse. I had one of these with my iMac G3 years ago, pre-fire. I hated it. I hated it with a passion. It feels really weird in the hand. But, you know, given the retro aspect of these videos, I am going to endeavor to use it, at least for a while. The Apple Pro mouse, in many ways, is really nice. If it just had scrolling capabilities, rather than having to drag the scroll slider down constantly, I'd probably be pretty happy with that mouse. Now, I'm going to continue using this mouse. I doubt it. But I'm kind of glad to have it. It is a collectible. It is iconic. It's a piece of Apple history. And there you go. Okay, now to take a look at the machine and onwards from there. Gee, I wonder what kind of processor is in this. Could it be a PowerPC G3? A lot of people didn't like and kind of ridiculed the translucent effect with the G3 marked on the inside. I always thought it was kind of cool. But anyhow, there it is. Now, the outside a little bit different, of course, but essentially this is the same case that carried through really throughout the entire G4 line of PowerPCs. This is where it started. Previous iterations of the PowerMac G3 were generally beige towers that resembled the kind of towers you would see in the PC world. All right. Now to the front of the machine. Optical drive bay with the button that would cause the optical drive to release. The second bay here is for zip drive. How can I get that to open? Maybe not. What we can So it's a DVD-ROM, which may be a good thing. All right, now I'm guessing this lower bay is simply empty. All right, because what would go in here, rather than a second optical drive, generally it would be a zip drive. You remember zip drives? I do. I actually used to use them all the time. All right, that's the speaker, power button, and a couple of other miscellaneous buttons. I forget exactly what they do, but what the heck. And now, to the back of the machine. Firewire 400, Ethernet. I used to know what that was. Phone modem, USB 1.1, audio jacks, audio in, audio out. All right, expansion slots down here. Well, that's interesting. Oh, I see. I didn't get down low enough. Yes, indeed. The only thing in the PCIe expansion slots is the graphics card, which has only one input for VGA. All right. Exhaust here, Kensington lock, power in, and pass-through power, so that you can, in fact, power the monitor. All right, that off there. Kind of dirty in there. I'm not sure what would go into removing the acrylics. You could actually get in there and clean that. Probably, honestly, not worth the effort. Okay, and here we are on the inside of the machine. That beautiful little thing there. All right, these are the RAM slots. Only 3 of the 4 are populated. We'll have to see what the RAM picture is. I had expected that I would upgrade the RAM using that taken from the broken one. However, while there were 4 DIMMs in there, it seemed as though all of them were 64 megabyte. So we're going to probably need to get some more RAM here. All right, there's that graphics card. Down there at that a little bit. Heatsink for the processor in here. Actually still clipped on, because the other one, that had come flat off. There are the 3 PCIe expansion slots. That's the PRAM battery. We'll see what kind of life there is left in that. Now, a little disappointing. I had just assumed that the blue and white would come with the ability to have multiple drives attached. Evidently not. In the IDE controllers here we have this one, which extends up and runs to the optical drive, which is right there. Now it snakes through, comes out there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there it is, sneaking up back and eventually getting to the optical drive. So I don't see a convenient way of adding anything else. This is empty. That's where the zip drive would go. And there's that one drive. There is an IDE ribbon cable, but it can only connect one drive. Now I wonder, would it be possible to get another ribbon cable that would? There's Molex here, certainly. That would be the Molex for the zip drive to give it power. And there's Molex. Now, these could be configurable with SCSI drives in addition to the IDE drive, but SCSI drives were just really, really, really slow. All right. So yeah, my intention had been to put an SSD, but this has the same limitation as the Sawtooth, in that you can't have anything more than 128 gigabytes be understood. I had fully intended to put 2 such drives into here. That's not really going to happen. I suppose we could find a way to extend the IDE here that would be going to that zip drive. And then we do have the mullets to power it. So it may be possible. Of course, I'm going to have to remove this drive, which is no big deal. These machines ship with a 6 gigabyte hard drive, if you can believe that. Man, you wouldn't even bother to buy a flash drive with only 6 gigabytes today. And it could be upgraded. The upgrade was 12 gigabytes. Ooh. As far as other things, operating system, I'm not sure what's on here. The seller, if I'm remembering correctly, it may have 10.4 Tiger, but we're going to have to see about that. And that will all come about when we boot it up. So let's close this guy up. Not able to do that really well with one hand, so this clip is about an end anyway. All right, be back, hopefully on a desktop. I'm going to apologize in advance. The way I've had to situate the phone on this tripod in order to capture what I hope will be the whole screen is going to be awkward at best. However, we are all connected. This, the Apple USB keyboard is one of the last, if not the last, Apple keyboards that included a power button on the keyboard, as I notice. So let's press it. And we're starting up. So that at least works. That's interesting. And we're booting into an operating system, some variety or other of OS X. Okay. It's not that slow booting up, really. Okay. So I think we're fully booted up. That's actually pretty good. Okay, let's look about this Mac. Version 10.4. All right. Somebody had an install disk for Tiger and just installed Tiger on this. This is the first release of Tiger. It topped out at 10.4.11. I'm not going to run the software update right now. 350 megahertz PowerPC G3. Memory 512 megabytes, which by the time I believe these machines shipped with 64 megabytes at first, which could be upgraded as a build to order to 128. So 512 is not that bad, but it will accept 1 gig. So that's definitely got to be an upgrade. All right. Let's. Oh boy, I really don't like this mouse. My I was hoping my memories of it would be a little bit better. Of course, it actually, take a look into it. It actually has a ball. This is not an optical mouse. So, yeah, really. Oh, good gracious Lord. It is, in fact, a 6 GB hard drive. And there's only 1.36 gigabytes available. Over 4.5 gig are used just by the installation of Tiger, which I'm pretty sure is a clean vanilla install. Oh, wow. I wouldn't dare try to update this. Just the updates alone are going to eat into what little remains of this hard disk. Alrighty then. Okay. The applications folder will tell us. And a quick look here. Yeah, these are all basic Mac OS programs. There's nothing that has been installed. Nor again, yeah, there's not much you could install with that little tiny bit of hard disk space left. Okay. System preferences. The user accounts. Right, the account name PowerMac G3. Let's try this. So we've got to authenticate. I'll leave password blank. And it bought it, so there is no password. Oh, that's pretty normal. Okay. So what else do we have here? Let's look at displays. 16 by 900. Okay, we can take it to 1920, so. All right, that's going to be a little better. All right, now looking about this Mac again, but this time, oh, this mouse is dreadful. More info. I think this is going to be the one and only time I ever actually use this mouse. All right. Yep, the DVD-ROM. And then that 6 GB hard drive, which is an IBM. And that's got to be the original drive. This computer was issued in early 1999. It is fully 21 years old. Who knows how much longer that hard drive is going to go. On the other hand, maybe it'll last forever. You can never tell. All right, disk burning. Okay, it's not a burner. It's ROM, read-only at best. Firewire. And that's expected. There are 2 Firewire ports, but on the G3s, there was only 1 Firewire bus. All right. Serial ATA won't have anything. Printer's obviously not installed. Parallel SCSI. Nothing. So there is no zip drive. I didn't think there was. All right, USB. Yeah, and the keyboard's plugged in, and the mouse is plugged into the keyboard. It's USB 1.1, and lucky that we have that. All right. Go to network. Yeah, built-in Ethernet. There, you can connect to a network via FireWire, uh, which would actually, I think, really be just networking one-to-one with another Mac with FireWire. All right, all right, okay. Whew, boy. Okay, my first thought. With a 6 GB hard drive, you're only going to have one operating system installed. Tiger is far from the best choice. There is no doubt. This thing would be best suited to OS 8 or OS 9. Those are very light operating systems. They were designed for machines exactly like this. Now, you might very well be able to run Jaguar, OS 10, 10.2, with Classic installed alongside, and you would be able to boot up into OS 9. This is going to be a challenge. Now, the thought I'd had going into this has kind of gone out the window. I had wanted to make this a kind of workshop for OSs. I wanted to put OS 8, OS 10.0, OS 10.1 on this machine. That's not going to happen. Well, it could, because I had planned on putting in 120 gig SSD. In fact, I've got it with the idea that I'm going to put it in here. But yeah, the only way to do that is to take out the existing hard drive, which, I mean, it's 6 GB. What's the point of it at this stage? I had really thought, though, that I would be able to put in 2 of those 120 gig SSDs, which would allow me to have one for the 3 operating systems I mentioned, and then another which would be OS 9.2.2 and Tiger. Those are the operating systems that 9.2 would be the most efficient on this old and very slow machine. Tiger, the most capable in the modern world. But it's not going to take more than one drive. Well, maybe I can figure out a way to connect another one using the connections that were supposed to be for the zip drive. I suppose that's possible. Get PCIe expansion cards, and there are 3 open slots there, and that may very well enable another drive to be put in. Okay, this is going to take a while. It's going to take some work, but I think I can get this old classic machine at least functioning somewhat better than it is. All right, well, thank you for joining me and taking a look at this old workhorse that I'm sure has been through a long and service-filled life. I'll be back. I've got other videos, of course, on other topics, other projects, but we'll be coming back to this machine. It may take a couple of weeks, but we will be coming back to this machine. Well, thank you very much for watching, and there will be more up quite soon. Well, I thought I would end the video with some thoughts about the blue and white. First of all, it has that 6 GB hard drive, which was standard at the time. And someone, probably the seller, I really don't know,
install Tiger on it. Bad choice. Tiger just on its own takes up over 4 gigabytes of space. So you're left with about 1.5 gigabytes free. Not very far you're going to go with that. That causes a problem because the system is very limited as it is. It only has 0.5 gig of RAM. Now, that will be addressed, but for right now, that's what's in there. Now, the operating system makes up for limited RAM by creating virtual memory, which operates as though it were RAM. Not quite as fast, but it does help out and can help out considerably. It creates that virtual memory using free space on your drive. Well, there isn't any free space on the drive. Realistically, if I had to go just with that 6 gigabyte hard drive, I would probably just install OS 9 and be done. OS 9 was designed for exactly that kind of machine with that kind of drive. The applications that run on OS 9, I mean, they're all going to be very old, of course, but they work and they're a lot lighter. So you can actually function very, very nicely on OS 9 within that very limited hard drive space. Now, at the absolute worst, I have the RAM coming. I want to upgrade it to 1 gigabyte. I have a 120 gigabyte SSD and the adapter that will allow the SATA SSD to connect to the IDE. So yeah, you just take out the 6 gigabyte hard drive and put in the 120 gigabyte SSD. The problem with the system, and we went over this a little bit with the Sawtooth as well, it can only address 128 gigs maximum. But still, you're going 10 times, 20 times as much space as with the 6 gigs. So that should be fine. And if I am in fact restricted to just that one drive, install OS 9 and Tiger, which coexist on the same drive, for day-to-day productivity related things. OS 9 is going to work better. And because it's so much lighter, things just will go so much more quickly. If you need to interface more with the modern world, Tiger is the best option you're going to get. I find it hard to imagine Leopard running on that machine, and then you wouldn't have Classic anyway. But Tiger gets us at least into this century anyway. And I tend to think the machine would behave fairly capably with that. Now, see, here's the problem. Now, sure, the IDE cable only connects one drive. Well, you can get IDE cables that will connect 2 drives. That's very simple. Why not just do that? The problem is this machine has a Revision 1 logic board. The Revision 1 logic boards are notorious for having problems recognizing more than one drive, at least connected via the IDE interface. Now, it might work. So, I have another SSD coming. I have another ribbon cable coming, so I could connect both of those SSDs. It might work. If it does, this has opened up a lot. But it very well might not. Now, if it does not, the next step would be a PCI IDE controller card. There are a number of free PCI slots in there. Put that controller card in. Connect a drive, another SSD, via the controller card. That should get around the Rev 1 limitation about the number of drives that it will recognize. And actually, I suppose if you did both, then you can have even more drives, which changes life considerably with that machine. Now, there are other things you can do besides RAM and more storage space. There was quite a market that had developed these machines, upgrading the processor. The processor is actually on a subboard that connects to the logic board, known as a daughter board. So if you get another daughter board with a better processor, you can replace the daughter board that's there with the new one. Now, I've never actually done this, but I'm familiar with the concept. So you could go from that very limited 350 megahertz G3 to a faster G3, or even to a G4, at which point you have converted your G3 blue and white into something basically like a G4 Yikes, the first Power Mac G4 that was issued. I will think on that one. We shall see if we want to take it that far. But first, I want to take the processor as it is and see how far we can go with it. It'll be a while before all of this takes place, but I promise you it's coming, and you will see more. All right, well, thank you very, very much for your attention. In the meantime, there will be other videos dealing with other machines and other old versions of the Mac OS. So, thank you very much, and we will see you soon.